All right, Wrap Shop Talk. So today we have the one and only Dan Workman with us. And if you don't already know, Dan and I are partners on Wrap Shop Academy. This is what Dan actually started Wrap Shop Talk. And I just started posting like mad, and we ended up being partners.
Yeah, pretty
And
much.
I mean, we've had prior interactions with each other. We're in the same mastermind. That's what we're doing currently. Is we're in Tampa Bay, Florida, at a Real Business Owners Mastermind, and we meet up every quarter. And Dan and I's relationships just evolved. I've known him for years in the vehicle wrap industry, and he's also a customer with us at Torque CRM. So um, Dan has had massive growth in the last several years, and I've always said that Dan was like a sleeper because Dan has grown his business without being the installer.
Mostly. Yeah, and I mean in the last few years for sure. I mean essentially like the first 6 years it was me in the garage.
Right.
But I got to the point where I was just so burnt out of doing everything all the time that it got to the point where I was like, I either need to stop this completely or figure something else out. And when I decided to bring on help, any kind of help, which ended up being installers at first. That was the first thing that I gave up almost completely after I got a couple people basically trained up to do the installs. Then I offloaded that completely and almost never touched a squeegee again in a way, of like being necessary to the install. I let that go. And then I focused on still design, print, and sales, and all the other things. But that was the start of some of the change of that growth for sure. Because like there's only ever so much you can do by yourself. Like right, like period. And as and after giving up some of that install power to somebody else, it was eye-opening to be like, okay, like all of these hats that I wear to become a real business owner, which, is that group we're in, but to actually be a real business owner, I just have to give a hat to somebody else to take over that task. And I kind of had in my brain that eventually I would have, I've got my installers taken care of. Next on my list, I want to have somebody take care of print production. And then I didn't have a for sure game plan of what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to have somebody do sales. And then what eventually happened, I brought in somebody to do kind of an admin role for me to help with all the little offhand things, answering the phone, some of the QuickBooks invoicing, and I was still doing sales. And we've continued to grow, to about a 7-person team, just doing a little over 7 figures. But the last 3 years have been huge growth with probably one main key role, which was my admin role, and having somebody kind of be like this glue piece to all the little things that always have to be done that aren't the most money making tasks. Like they're not producing the vinyl, they're not installing the vinyl, but all of the little things that take a lot of time to allow the big money maker things to happen.
Right.
And that admin role was really big to go from, in a little over a year, go from like $500,000 to $1 million just by having that person in that spot. That was really big.
And what's funny is on surface level, it's a non-revenue generating position.
Yeah, it is.
And we always hire it last.
Yeah, dude.
And now, like with us starting up, say, Wrap Shop Academy and, anything else I do, it's gotten now to where like, okay, we have no staff for this. And yet I pay a personal assistant for me to help make sure that we communicate with all the customers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
To ensure that like, that is because the customer experience stays high. If it's not, why isn't it? Let's audit it. Like that's just the mundane, like, hey, I really need to send an email to this guy. Like he's literally in my inbox, responding as me.
And it's because I think it's because it's the realistically the cheapest task that could be offloaded.
Yeah.
That takes so much time away from you that should be doing all of the high priority and like what we learned, what I learned from Thomas Kean, you probably learned from Thomas Kean. Oh, I just smacked my mic. Was, you know, those buckets of like, you have your $10 an hour jobs, you've got your $50 an hour jobs, your $100 an hour jobs, and you've got your, you know, $1,000 an hour jobs, and these buckets of jobs that like the admin stuff, all the little things, they take so long to do, but they really are the easiest thing to offload to somebody because they don't require a lot of training. It's answering phones, it's creating invoices, sending invoices or estimates, and they pick up so much about the job and the industry and everything just through being that in that role, that they can help with sales, they can help with so many things to just free up your time to do the bigger needle moving stuff.
Not just that, but for example, today woke up to a fire.
Yeah.
Woke up to a horrible day. Client is not happy. It wasn't anything that we did, but it doesn't matter if the customer's not happy. We need to at least let them feel seen, heard, to get that out. And the longer it sits and simmers with a client, the worse it is. And I feel like what happens with a really good admin, you know, is I went and looked at the system because I saw the email. Went and looked at the CRM and I was like, holy crap, Chester has already called this guy 3 times. He's texted the guy, and the guy was being non-responsive and not really fun to work with, and was demanding that we book on his calendar or something like that. It was kind of weird, but it didn't matter. Chester was already like hitting it, and immediately I went from like peak, like annoyed, like not annoyance, but like stress of like, I gotta put this fire out, and we're about to go do a team thing where we're about to go in kayaks and go explore Tampa. And I've got like 30 minutes to try to remedy this and get ready and have breakfast. And yet I woke up to
It
immediate peak to, oh, it's handled.
Yeah. That's a huge.
So having that filter, I think the secondary thing that's kind of unaccounted for is the mental bandwidth to not be so frustrated when things happen.
Yeah.
Because when it's you filtering every single one, like, you're almost like anticipating the next one is so close to set you off.
Yeah. Because and having him be able to do that keeps you focused and more on track with just the general things you need to do, not having to have this like stop all attention on anything else I'm doing. Now I have to focus it all on this customer to resolve his issue. And it's not a bad thing, but to be able to have somebody do that for you so that you're still always in the right mindset and you don't have to divert all attention away from it. That's cool.
Well, we jumped into your 7-person, you know, running just a little over $1 million rep shop and moving very fast. What got you into vehicle reps first?
In the beginning?
Yeah.
Gosh, I'll take you all the way back to the very first time that I ever thought that I would be interested or had any kind of like entrepreneur thought in my head or whatever. My dad owned an insurance company, brokerage, so he'd sell insurance. So, so he was self-employed, and that I think that and my other family members had different businesses that so it's always been a little bit of like on my mind that maybe one day I'll have some kind of business, whatever. So when I'm 12, 13 or something like that, I had the idea to go to start a window washing company, job, right? To go wash windows, make money in the summer and do all that. And I got super excited about the idea and the concept of starting the business. I hopped on the computer, hopped on Microsoft Paint, and I designed a logo for Dan's Window Washing. And it had a smiley face, great big smile, big old eyeballs, some eyebrows, had some color in there. I drew, a window squeegee and a brush that were, around the smiley face. The lettering went underneath the smile. And I spent a lot of time designing this logo, and I was super proud of it. And I only say that because I was really excited about designing the logo at that moment. So, and I didn't really even think about that until later in life. That brought me more excitement, that part, than actually washing windows. Fast forward to high school, I took a little bit of the graphic design Learned a lot about Illustrator, Photoshop, and other Adobe products. Never thought I was necessarily going to do anything with it, but I kind of enjoyed it. I had a little, I don't know, art type uh, tendency, skill, I guess.
Creativity.
Yeah, creativity. Um, After high school, had a bunch of different sales type jobs, and ended up working for Yesco, the sign company, for a little while, doing sales, selling channel letters and billboards and stuff like that. And I remember touring their facility or a facility that was like a partner facility in Salt Lake called Ferrari Color. And Ferrari Color printed these huge billboard banners that would go on billboards, like all these massive printers. That was the first time I ever
Grand
seen
format.
a printer like that,
Right.
grand format, yeah. So I was probably 23. This was 15 years ago. And remember seeing these printers, and I was amazed by these printers, what they could do. But then in this other bay, I saw these guys taking these huge sheets of what looked like a giant sticker and putting it on a van and making, like, I saw part of the van where the whole thing was installed and it looks like paint on this van. I was like, holy shit, that's cool. Like, I had no idea. I had no idea what a vehicle wrap was. No idea those things. Like I said, it was 15 years ago. So I don't know. It was a while ago, and that was the first time I was exposed to it at all. And I'm watching them install some other panels. Fast forward a couple years later, a friend of mine had basically bought somebody's small vehicle wrap company who he bought some equipment, got some customers, had a year of success, and then wanted to just get rid of it and sell it off. And so my buddy and his father-in-law bought a vehicle wrap company, and I basically just kind of worked on the side with him for a while. It was about a year into it, and we had kind of worked out like a sweat equity thing where if I help him out for this, help him get it going and running, maybe we'll earn some kind of equity in the business, kind of thing. Basically just didn't work out, and they shut it down. They're like, we don't really like doing this anymore. We're just going to shut it down. So after learning how to do installs, I had some graphic design experience, a lot of sales experience, and knew how to print and basically just do everything. So after they shut it down, I was like, I actually really enjoyed this. I'm going to go ahead and start up another one. So with all the experience I learned out of my parents' garage, I continued to sell jobs to do vehicle wraps. And instead of having a space to go to, I contracted a company in Utah to do printing for me. I would still design it. They'd print it. I'd pick up customers' cars, bring it to my parents' garage, and wrapped probably a month's worth of vehicles in my parents' garage, and then maybe a couple months, and then leased a space. I was like, this is working out. So I leased a space in Salt Lake I leased 1,500 square feet for $670. It was dirt cheap. Like,
I wish rates were still that much.
even at the time, it was dirt cheap. And what was pretty lucky for myself was that they kept the rate really low for the next 5 years. So that was really lucky on my part. Allowed me to continue to grow, not even grow, just sustain, because it was just me in the garage.
Right.
I actually wonder if had the rate my rent had increased, if I would have been forced to change faster.
The pressure.
Yeah, pressure of needing to make more to afford the rent or whatever. But so that's basically how I got into it. And it's been 12, almost 13 years that I've been in wraps total, and which is crazy to think it's been so long.
Yeah, 13 years goes by fast. I mean, that's exactly how long I've been in it, and it feels like a blur. But it's awesome. And is that the same 1,500 square foot that we met in, or did you move to a new building after that?
Yeah, so same spot. For maybe about 3, almost 4 years ago, we leased the space next to us and knocked the wall out. So now it's 3,000 square feet. Put in new lighting, and or just opening up that space and having the bigger shop has helped with the growth, for sure. Just being able to have more vehicles in shop. We're definitely at capacity there. Like, we need to be moving to a bigger shop. most likely by the end of our lease at the end of the year.
Yeah, it sucks because you want to keep it lean as possible. And the thing that I've learned, especially, is that the size of the shop, albeit important, it is very important to stay as small square footage wise as possible, because that lease eats you up when times get slow.
Yeah, for sure. I think more than the space inside the shop, what's almost more important is that you just have even yard space to keep
Good
extra
parking
vehicles.
space. Yeah.
Because it's not so bad to move vehicles in and out, but if you don't have the space to keep a few vehicles on the ready to be able to move in, and you're only working on, like, this vehicle's done, now this vehicle has to be picked up before the next vehicle can come, then you have more issues with scheduling, where if somebody doesn't show up at the exact time, then you guys are sitting around not doing anything.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder with tighter parking space. So, like, I think 3,000 square feet is still really good. You could still do probably 2 to 3 million in a 3,000 square feet with
good parking.
decent parking, where you have, if you end up getting a fleet customer and they want to drop off 10 vehicles, just having a spot to put them.
Yeah.
And being able to always interchange vehicles and not having to wait on customer schedule of pickup or drop off. Like that's probably more important than
I
even
haven't
just
really
the
thought
bigger
about that.
space.
That's actually why Brad Rapone's shop is so effective. Is he has a just complete open backyard behind his shop,
Really?
just to park tons of standby vehicles.
Yeah, it's the
he can only
standby.
he can only fit 2 cars in his bay.
Yeah.
He's moving into a bigger shop now, but like, I mean, he was running a lot of revenue through a shop with a 2-bay shop. Like,
Yeah, that's right.
crazy.
And that's probably, I think that's probably a big part,
Yeah,
because
I
you're not.
never considered very specifically the parking. Awesome. So moving into the new shop next year, doubled the business in the last 3 years, 4 years. What were some hurdles, some massive pain points of going from 500K to the $1 million? Because there's a lot of people in that state.
Yeah. Dude, the big hurdles for sure have been, I mean, one, me growing as a business owner overall, of like going from never owning business, never being in management, of people, of a business, of just kind of being this technician, right, that had some experience doing certain things, to growing into business owner. So, and what I mean by that is, like, going from having employees who were buddies in a way, like not that they were buddies and I hired them, but they became buddies because we're just kind of all working together. It's only a few people, to, changing things up from, hey, we got these jobs going on, and just kind of telling everybody what to do, to then creating systems and guide,
Ability and all that
yeah,
stuff.
like, and accountability for sure, where all of a sudden you're trying to hold people accountable, because to grow, like, everybody has to be doing their job, efficiently, correctly, and everything. And when you start laying down the law to you guys who've been chilly working with you, then sometimes it doesn't work out so good. And usually the guys who start with you as you grow don't end up with you, because I think for a lot of time for that reason. So
Yeah, because you
employees
got a
for
guy,
sure.
he's like, I love this job because my boss is so chill.
So chill. Yeah.
He does not care what I do.
Yeah.
Until he does.
Yeah.
And then they're like, shit, what happened to my old boss that I like?
Yeah, dude. So that's been a hurdle of itself, of going from the super chill guy to, we've got to have some structure. We got to, we're going to have core values that that everybody is, bought into. And when you're developing that stuff, the people that have kind of been with you from the beginning, I don't know, it's hard for them to buy into it all, because you have to have employees involved in it. And there's like a respect level that's hard to get with the guys that you started with.
Yeah.
It feels like. So, and figuring out the certain roles of, the right type of personality for the installer. I've been through a handful of different installers. The team that I have right now are awesome. Actually, my wife tells me all the time, she's like, I love your installers right now. She's like, don't lose them, don't change them, because they all work hard. They're all way nice guys. Like, they follow our core values, like, perfectly. And I've been through different installers that have had different, you know, big egos and um, expectations that are unrealistic of like, I want to make more. Well, okay, let's figure out how you can work a little bit more or have more responsibility. No, I just want to make more, right? Like that kind of thing. Um, and been through different print production people, looking for the right skill set for each role and personality is kind of tough. And in the beginning, it was hiring almost anybody that I could find, right? Like when I would find my print production guy and my installers in the very beginning, like I said, it was just if I could find anybody to come and work for me for the wage that I was looking for, because a lot of time it was just like, I think I could afford this, so I'm going to hire for this amount. And I would just fill it with whoever and then train them up for it. Then to move to hiring for the right person, not necessarily just who I can find. That's been really game changing too. So that like the last time I hired a print production person, I actually hired somebody who has been in print production roles, has a lot of knowledge that I don't have. So it's not just training them on what I know. They bring a lot to the table that help us have way better, more efficient printing, better color matching, better everything that are skills that I didn't have, could have had, but hiring to bring skills in is has been really great for
It's
sure.
much better for you to not know how to do it,
Yeah.
because sometimes intelligence is actually kind of a crutch.
Yeah.
And then you attach ego to that. You're like, no, like, I'll do the color matching.
Mm-hmm.
And you hold on to that.
Yeah. Like, oh, I can do it better, so I'll just jump in and
I'll
do
just
it.
do it.
Yeah.
Client's important to me.
Yep.
So, I like, now I'm like, I don't want to know. I just want you to figure it out and tell me what the result was. Like,
Yeah.
I could care less about the details of how to do it. And that, it's weird. It's like once you finally distribute all those hats,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, dude, I don't want that hat back.
For
You
real.
keep it over there.
Yeah. Yeah. You fight really hard to make sure that hat has somebody underneath it.
And I'll put it on, but man, I do not want to put that hat on.
Yeah. Yeah. So employees. So learning how to be an actual business owner and managing people has been tough. Or not so so difficult, but definitely a hurdle to get over. And then finding the right people for the right roles, and it's still an ongoing process because I've had that admin's position is kind of morphed into I want to continue to take more steps away from the business, from being in the day to day. So instead of just having an admin where I'm still kind of over what everything they're doing, I'm now going to replace them with more of a general manager that is almost replacing me, but they'll take over some of the admin responsibilities as well, and eventually we'll probably kind of add back that admin role in maybe a different way, and probably um, a simpler way of like maybe they're just answering phones or doing some of the accounting, but not having their hand in the back office, or sorry, back,
Splitting.
they're not doing warehouse stuff, they're just doing
Yeah.
front end stuff. Where currently the admin, his role has been doing a little bit of both. I'm going to have my operations or GM kind of be managing front end and back ends.
Yeah.
And he comes from a lean process management and inventory management kind of role. And I'm really excited to get him in that seat to propel us forward and give me a little bit more flexibility on stepping away from being there all day, every day.
Yeah. So I think the whole bit of that 500 to the million was leveling yourself up in business,
Mm-hmm.
becoming a better business owner, or a people person, not a people person, but a opportunity creator, like identifying with that more so than being the installer. But also you started hiring more for the hat. Whereas also, I think a lot of us, when we're in that 300 to 500K range, we hire Swiss Army knives.
Mm.
And that's a weird pivot to get through, because
Yeah.
you're like, I really kind of want this admin to do admin and
Yeah,
table work, and I really
because you
want
give
my
them multiple
table
hats,
guy
just
to
like you have
do
multiple
table
hats.
and install, and I really want my designer to do print and like you're putting 1 to 3 hats on a person.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is they can never be great at anything. And also, I think the longer you hold on to that, especially once you go to performance-based pay, because you're performance-based pay,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The longer you hold on to that, the longer you actually have bloat on your P&L for labor if you have somebody sandbagging. Because I've had a couple guys on my team that they look busy as hell, and then finally when we started paying attention, they weren't doing anything.
Hmm.
I don't know if you ever had one of those.
Yeah, for sure. When it more not since I've had performance pay for my
Oh
installers,
yeah, no, that exposes them.
but yeah, before for sure they look like they're always busy.
Dude, he would be cleaning up the shop and all kinds of stuff, but wouldn't be doing anything.
Mhm.
Like, I'm just like, I've never seen somebody so good at looking busy like this guy. He had a gift.
Doing
And
everything but making money.
yes. But leadership development for yourself and hiring. And I'm sure there's a point that you would get kind of fed up with hiring.
Yeah, for sure. Because that kind of off or GM manager role. What's basically happening right now is I hired a person who was perfect for the role. Somebody else wanted them for a bigger position and offered them more money. It was actually what he went to school for. And essentially they offered him more money, took the job. Come to find out, he hates the job that he went to school for, hates doing it, had a touch of what we were doing, and enjoyed it so much that he's going to be coming back to do that same role for a pay cut. And because for a lot of people, there's more than the money aspect, and for him it was very fulfilling to do what we were doing. But having to go from an admin to this person to him leaving to finding somebody else who's not that right person. Like there's been plenty of people I've hired that I'm like, you're not the right person. And it's taken, some people have taken longer to be like, all right, you're getting to get. Others a little bit faster, but so it's a painful process to hire, not work out, and then rehire that same position, and then almost have to do it immediately after. But I don't know, it's just
Worth it.
pains that you have to get through for
Yeah.
sure. Because I imagine that the way that I want to operate the business is as a business owner. I don't particularly, not that I don't enjoy wraps, I do. I have passions in other things, and I want it to continue to grow. I just want to put the right team in place that can do it with me there or without me there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll always be involved in the direction and the vision of where it's going. But it's really exciting to me to want to be able to put that team together that is just contained and self-sufficient, that could use me or not. Like it doesn't matter if I'm there or not.
Yeah.
That's exciting to me.
With you moving into that, because a lot of people, even at the 7-figure mark, aren't moving towards that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're going after business ownership versus lifestyle business, right? And both are fine depending on your vision for yourself or whatever you want to do. You know, but have you had the experience yet where somebody basically told you you changed their life? Or like that you massively impacted them as being employed by your business, Identity Graphics?
I can't say that I've had that yet. I think I would love that someday for somebody to say like this has been life changing. I think I'm definitely moving towards that route, and hopefully it is with more than just one person in the company. But I have had many people come back or want to come back to work for me after leaving for whatever reason,
And seeing what they
and
had.
seeing either what they lost by leaving, or just deciding like, wow, this was a great opportunity. You're a great person to work for. My number one installer, who's You know, he easily is making 70K doing installs. He's told me many times, he's like, you're one of the best people I've ever worked for. He had a company that offered him basically a 70K base, like just pay, like solid pay. And he decided to stay with me. He has more upside to work to that we can continue to make more because of his performance pay. Um, but and I mean, to be completely transparent, one of the reasons why he wants to stay with me isn't just the pay and working with me and everything, but like I know one of his great like his goals is to get citizenship in the US, and I'm like, I will do everything I can to help you get that. Like
Mm-hmm.
not for me, for you to work for me. That's not my goal. Like I want you to have that because that's what you want. Like so for him and I mean he was almost in tears when I told him that because he was just so pumped about it.
It's a big
To have somebody care about him and his like true desire, not just him being an employee, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a big part of the leadership thing is being connected with a team and actually more than anything helping people reach whatever their goal is, because I've always said if people are reaching their goals, odds are yours are taken care of.
Yeah. 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 And I don't want to have, and even as the, like stepping away from being in the business and being the business owner, I still want to always know, like have like my employers, all my people, I want them to know that I actually care about them, their livelihood. Like, is this a good thing for them, for their families, for whatever? I don't want it to ever be like this. Like, you're just my employee, you do what you're told, you do your job.
People say
It's not,
that.
it's not that.
I'm not a fan of top-down management at
Yeah.
all. So this will be fun. Let's talk about this A player that you're hiring, because it's a little different than hiring, say, a ground up installer, or like even a great installer, but not a leader installer who's going to be like a team lead. Like an A player is going to be somebody that's like self-sufficient, thinks on their own, capable of taking charge, making massive decisions in the company,
Mm-hmm.
potentially even without your advice and or approval, as long as it's in line with the company vision, direction, and values.
Yeah. Yeah.
um now that you've gotten a taste of that, because that was the most massive thing for me. And we've
Mm-hmm.
talked about it plenty of times about hiring A to A plus tier person.
Mm-hmm.
Completely broke my brain on business and leadership. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even like, I do talk to my team, but I don't talk to them like owner.
Mm.
I talk to them like I'm chief fun officer in my business. I make sure their goals are being met.
Mm-hmm.
The bulldog or the operator is that person,
Yep.
and they're the ones driving.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just making sure they're taken care of, and that like I'm getting the temperature in the room.
Yeah.
But she handles all of the pushing, the driving, the metrics, the KPI.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're not hitting our mark. We got to go charge in a loving way. But like,
Right.
it's crazy how different it is, because the decisions that are made with like is just boom. It's
Mm-hmm.
so amazing. So you got a taste of that and then lost that.
Yeah. For about 6 weeks, which was crazy about how fast he picked up everything we were doing, was integrated in our systems, into Torque, into Monday. Excuse me. And he picked it up super fast, and I saw a glimpse of, because before him it was the admin role, which was like I said, worked great when I'm still driving the ship. Like they're my right hand person. They're kind of helping me out, but I'm still in charge of everything happening. When I brought this other guy in, I got a better glimpse of, I could definitely rely on this person a lot more, like just based on how much he's like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but the the competency that was there was next level. It's that A player. They pick up and can see things that need to be done. They know.
My mentors always called that having your eyes up.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that like they're not there, but their eyes aren't up to something like something as simple as somebody walking by a piece of trash.
Mm-hmm.
Except instead of trash, it's we have waste in our business here, or hey, I see this inefficiency, or hey, I see we're treating our customers like that. And I don't think we should.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're talking about,
Yeah.
is their eyes are up and they're able to pick up on these little nuances that typically only you
The owners. Yeah.
are
An
caring
owner.
about.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the things that I knew that made me know that this was going to be the right kind of person was that he was there from open to close, no question. Like, hey, no, hey, can I leave early?
Fantastic.
No, hey, it's like 5:45. Can I head out? Like, none of that. He was there till the end of the day. Another, and not only that, but he was immediately taking so much pride in the way the shop looked, and he's like, I want this place to be, I want this place to be looking great. I want the guys to be excited to come here. I want customers to see that this is, we keep a great establishment, like that not just that it's clean, but he had so much vision that aligned with mine of like where we wanted to, like in our new space, eventually when we move into a new spot, we like of it just being him being bought into that, and not just I'm running things here. I'm doing the schedule with the guys and this, that, the other. Like he was bought into it so much and was taking way more responsibility than was even really asked of him. If that makes sense. And he was excited to build relationships with our clients. And there was just, I don't know, it's hard to say exactly what it was, but
Let's just take charge.
yeah, take charge for sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
I'm excited to get it back. It's gonna be cool.
talk about the financial like mindset that went through that as you were hiring this person, because they're not cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I mean, so originally when I hired them, the first time, and this is, so now bringing them back, but both hiring or offers basically are totally performance based. Like a solid base salary, which are a little bit of a stretch financially, but in my mind, when I'm hiring my anybody, um, I don't think of it as like, okay, I'm gonna hire this person for 70K, 80K, or whatever. I don't think about that number of like it's gonna cost me this annually, because jobs and the business can change monthly. Like, so like I I really just need to be able to afford this person for a certain amount of time before they're producing, or should be producing, additional revenue and profit to the business that they are supposed to pay for themselves. Like, so like hiring this A player, one, I wanted it to be performance based. So I'm like, if you really are going to be this good, it'll be tied to the amount of pay that you can get will be tied to performance. Like if we can increase our revenue, if we can increase our profit, you'll be rewarded like pretty well.
No.
I love performance based pay. I think it's so good. On the installer part, it's so good because there's no question on who's,
Yeah.
we've had lots of videos on that for sure, but for him, same kind of thing. If we crush it, you're gonna eat well, right? If we don't crush it, maybe you're not the right person. You're still gonna have good pay, but it also leaves me room to be able to either help them improve, maybe guide the ship, the vision differently, and they take the helm, continue to take the helm, or maybe find another person to fit that role. But I guess in general, of just thinking about how much like that of their pay, I it makes it easier when I think about, can I afford the next maybe 2 months of that salary before they should be bringing in enough money to compensate for their salary.
Yeah, I would say 60 days in, they should at least be break even,
Yeah.
period. If they're the right person, they should be not costing you anything. They should be break even and at worst not generating revenue, but paying for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then 90 days should start to creep into an ROI. by 6 months, you damn better be. Like, because if not, then that's just your fault as the leader of potentially having the wrong hat on the wrong head.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. Yeah, I wanted to hear your mindset on it because, man, it took us so long to pull the trigger, like, on a rock star.
Mm.
And now I'm like, give me another one.
Yeah.
Who is it? Like,
Who's the next one?
I even have been trying to convince my operator to I don't want a sales person. I want a sales team leader that's going to build the team.
Build a team. Yeah.
I don't want her building the team. I want the sales team leader guy who's going to tell me, this is my plan to have 4 sales guys in the next year. Here's the metrics going to hit. Like that. That's the guy I want.
Yep.
I thought I had him. He ended up sucking. But we again.
But that doesn't mean that's still not the plan, right?
Still the plan. We're still hunting. We're hunting both at the same time because you don't know who's on the market, but you constantly keep throwing lines out there because a person like that could actually develop a sales team. You think about it, most people have an issue with the pulse of their business, which is sales. I need more sales. You need more outreach. You need more people knowing that you even exist.
Yeah.
And that takes time and effort.
Yeah.
So, and if you think about it, the leverage that you would get on somebody if you had somebody out there that knew how to grow a sales team. It's way better than one sales guy out there doing a little bit of outreach.
For sure. And it's not, number one, like I've right now we have one salesperson, and I know that my next hire will be another salesperson or somebody that knows how to actually build a sales team and manage a sales team, because hiring for things that you don't know, because I've never ran a sales team. I can do sales. I can run
sales, but
I can do sales myself. I can teach somebody to sell like me, but it's different than than somebody who has managed a sales team, who can manage expectations, track the numbers, run spiffs and competitions and tactics and different things that, like, sure, I could do it and figure it out and spend my time doing it, but is it the best use of my time and energy to figure that out, or your time to figure it out, or is it better to spend the money on somebody that
just
can do that, that can do that? Yeah.
Because I don't know how to build a plan. Whereas like when you are hiring, like your guy, like you didn't go to this, your guy built a spreadsheet like in the first week of inefficiencies and also your best customers and how we need to like elevate those guys and more revenue. Like
first I think maybe his second week actually built a spreadsheet to show us over the last, actually of our all-time customers in the last 10 years, split up by year, first by customer, who has spent the most, and we could just see it on a graph, who spent the most, and in the last, who's spent money with us 2 years ago but didn't last year, or last year but not this year, and it was data that I'd never even thought about looking at, and he built it out.
Important benchmarks, because if it spent a lot and didn't by last year, it could be forecasted that this year is the year.
Yeah.
Or you made a mistake and you don't know about it.
Right. Yeah. And just puts that, and so we started calling on the people that hadn't bought for a couple of years or didn't buy this year, just to check in with them. And it was a good chart to have that's different than digging through your CRM to be like, who haven't we talked to for a while? You know, it's hard to keep track of that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. Sweet. Well, what would you say? I always like this line. I didn't coin this term at all. It's actually from a guy that's in the tent world, but be who you needed. What would you go back and tell Dan in the garage?
In the garage?
Yeah, like as Dan now,
yeah,
who's still learning a lot, but Dan now is, you do great with your family, you do great with your kids, and you spend a lot of time, and you're capable of being free to do whatever it is for that. But I'm sure there was some dark times and stuff in those first 6 years. So what would you tell yourself? But really, this is basically telling somebody out there who is in that shit.
Mm-hmm. This is gonna sound stupid and self like, um, because we have the Rap Shop Academy, right? But it's isn't because of that. But this is my like very honest truth of what I actually say, and it's talk to people who have done this before, get some kind of mentorship, read books, and hire faster. Like those things.
And take action, because a lot of people
Take action.
big thing I think that I think our industry is seeing a shift where people are tired of the grind.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think people are on the cusp of we're headed towards standardization. I want to run my business like a business owner. The hustle grind, like I can outwork anybody. The stuff
Yep.
is starting to be played out, and I was in that. I
Mm-hmm.
was a huge person in that. But a big thing that I am seeing a loop that I was in before, like joining RVO and stuff, getting called out on it, was mental masturbation, where how many times you see people just repeatedly ask for help, ask for help, ask for help. And then
Mm-hmm.
2 years later, they're in the same situation, ask for help, they never took action on anything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's because the idea of like you get excitement of like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and then don't do
Monday
it.
rolls around.
But you get the excitement going, and then it dwindles because you didn't do it or it didn't work, but you're not trying again because it didn't work. Like I have a buddy who has a business. It's not in the rap industry, but he has a business, and he will not hire anybody because he just keeps, and I keep telling him, I was like, why? I was like, hire somebody for this role, for this, to do this. Like, and his excuse every time is, no, they just hiring people. If I hire somebody for that, they're just gonna da 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 da. And he has this excuse for that, this, and that, the other, because he hired somebody one time and it didn't work out. One time, and it didn't work out. So he's taking that off the plate, like off the table. He's like, I'm just not gonna hire anybody. And I'm like, because it happens a lot where like you find a roadblock to something you wanted to do, especially the exciting things, and you find that roadblock, and then you don't try again. Like your salesperson, you didn't find the right salesperson or sales manager a few times, and like that doesn't mean that you stop. Like it takes wind out of your sails for sure, but you gotta keep going. So like, but I don't know if I'm getting on a tangent, but the yeah, the excitement of changing things or doing things different isn't the same as taking action. And yeah, it's the taking action part that's
I've
big.
actually been finding that business is actually not that hard. Like it's very fundamental.
What's hard is keeping your eye on the ball,
Yeah.
I think.
It's the consistency of
Yeah.
doing whatever it is that you need to do right now,
Yeah.
because everybody actually knows what they need to do. But we avoided like the plague. Like I avoided accounting for the longest time, and it ended up hurting me for a while. And now we're staring down them things, right? Looking under the bed and checking out the demons. You're whatever it is that you're avoiding is typically what's holding you from where you want to go.
Yeah.
But the hard part of business is confronting it and allowing yourself to sit in that long enough to figure it out, because it's a new skill. I've been likening it now to installing. Like if it takes you 2 years to become an expert at installing, then how are you going to be an expert at hiring on the first or second try?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
100%.
you just look at it through the same lens of like, I just suck at hiring right now, and it's okay.
Yeah. Later, I won't suck.
Eventually I will not suck.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. And so, and the other thing too is businesses are meant to make and lose money.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that's helped me a lot too, because I was very like, I don't want to lose my money. That's mine. I've never had it before. But now I like, oh, well, that really sucks. But how can we avoid it? And how can we make sure it doesn't happen again? But businesses will make a ton of money. Look at the biggest businesses out there. One thing happens, they're like, lost $2 billion. They're still alive.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just business. Like
Mhm.
you're going to make tons of money. You're going to lose tons of money. It's
Yeah.
going to happen. Just mitigate,
Yeah.
risk assess, and keep going, and survive till tomorrow sometimes when you're in the valleys.
Yeah.
But
And what's crazy is that you can have months or even years that are or close to red, maybe even in the red, but you don't shut the doors. Like somehow the doors don't shut. Somehow you can still make payroll. Somehow you can. I mean, it's not somehow. You like if you don't have, you know, credit card backups or what are they?
Lines of credit.
Lines of credit. Like you need them, but you're able to continue doing business even with peaks and valleys of like the shittiest times, the best times.
Absolutely. So, awesome. Well, I think this will be helpful for some folks. I'm stoked that we finally got to be in the same place at the same time. Take advantage of that. And
yeah, so maybe sometime I'll come visit you down in Mexico.
absolutely, anytime. Actually, it's kind of required because it's a business expense. So,
Yeah.
but I have to have meetings in my house.
Yeah, gotcha.
So come on down, we'll have some tacos. But yeah, I hope this was valuable to somebody out there. We hope it definitely helps. We're trying to standardize the industry. As Dan mentioned, we have the Wrap Shop Academy. We're dialing that in. Check that out. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.